Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my review for episode 3 of The Boys. So, yeah, like I said last time, we are just continuing this. We're just going to be doing episodic reviews in the same way I've been doing for Hell of a Boss. Um, and episode 3 got interesting, to say the least. But like the other episodes, there's a lot that happened, so I might miss something. If I do, just let me know in the comments and I'll just let you know my thoughts on it down there. I'll try to get to everything I can though. But I feel it would be best here to kind of discuss it in little sections. So let's talk about Starlight first. And why do I feel like I'm getting the name wrong? Annie, whatever you want to call her. I think it's Starlight. But anyways, so she meets up with the leaders of the Avant and finds out that the video that had been posted online and everything of her taking on those sexual assaulters and everything is now being looked at as positive because it's getting positive feedback from the people. So, kind of turning everything around from last episode where they were admonishing her for it because of just, basically being out of costume and everything and risking things in that way, risking things with the super, like, pre planned feeling of everything they do in this society. But now it's apparently a positive. Um, and Vought, in response, wants to make Starlight out to be this big feminine icon in the group. Because while the men are enjoying the video, the viewers who watch the video online are the male viewers are enjoying it for like the action and everything. It seems like a lot of the female viewers are enjoying it for the girl power aspect. And because of this, Vought wants Starlight to kind of take on that role, wants her to become this icon for that. And unfortunately, the way they're doing it is very much not in line with those kind of ideals. Um, the big thing they want her to do is to wear this super revealing costume, which, I mean, all in all, it's like if a superhero or anyone chose to wear something like that, there would be nothing wrong with doing so, but it has to be their choice. And the difference here is Vought is forcing it on her, and even when she complains about it, says like, I can't wear that. I don't feel comfortable showing that much skin," which is completely fair as well. Vought tells her, the head of Vought, I don't remember her name, um, but she tells Starlight, "Oh, you don't have to wear that. You don't have to show off that skin, but then you won't be in the seven. If you want to be in the seven, you have to wear that." So it's it's kind of like blackmailing her. In fact, it blatantly is. It's blackmailing her, telling her that if you want to be in the seven, if you want your dream come true here, you basically have to degrade yourself like this. And again, there's nothing wrong with people who like to wear that stuff and who choose to, but she's not choosing to. She's being forced to against her will. And it's not right. It's not okay. Um and so she does go along with it. but she's really against the idea. There's this scene in the episode where she meets a young fan during like this kind of meet and greet and kind of thing. You know, like you go to a convention, you meet with the voice actors and whatnot. It's the same kind of deal here, just with the superheroes. So she's meeting a young girl, this young fan who is wearing a replica of her old costume, and it's really cute, and she wants a selfie with her. But then some hecklers in the crowd in line start practically sexually assaulting her, like yelling things out like "show us your tits" and whatnot. And she just kind of withdraws and runs off, and I don't blame her. That's extremely disgusting. And it's extremely disgusting that Vought is making her go through with shit like this. But as we've seen plenty in these episodes so far, they don't care. Vought doesn't care. If it makes them money and shit, that's all that matters to them. Um, but later on, during this big race, which I'll get into in a bit when I talk about that aspect of things, she meets up again with Huey, our main character, and they have a discussion over nachos and beer, and they seem to be getting along really well. Like there seems to be actual good chemistry between them, and it definitely seems to be heading in a direction where there might be a romance. Although, considering what happened to Huey's last girlfriend, it's a little quick. But honestly, it was pretty obvious that this was going to happen. um, but they start talking. She even gives him her number and everything, and things seem to be working out with that. Unfortunately, with everything else, things are not working out for her. Um, but let's get into the other stuff. So, after the events of last episode, after Translucent was blown the fuck up through that bomb that was shoved up his ass, Huey and Billy and Frenchie are trying to just clean everything up, and they're not upset at Huey, which is actually kind of part of what I was thinking was going to happen. I thought they're going to be like, "Oh no, you blew it too soon," or like, "We could have gotten more," or whatnot. But no, they're like, Billy's actually like, "No, you actually kind of did us a favor or whatnot." Um, but yeah, so they clean it up, and then they have to figure out what to do with the remains because of Homelander's powers. He could find them pretty easily. So they decide if we can't stop him from finding them for good, we're just going to delay the process a little. So they collect what little remains are there, put them in this box, and go from there. Meanwhile, though, for the next stage of the plan, they need help. So Billy goes to meet this guy named Mr. Milk, who is working with troubled youth, to put it that way. And although he doesn't want to have anything to do with Billy at first, he does eventually relent when the plan and everything and the information about what happened with um, Translucent is brought up, showing to us that Mr. Milk has issues with the superhero society as well, which makes sense. It kind of makes sense that all of Billy's kind of main associates would. It seems like it's the kind of the recurring thing with their group and kind of how they operate and everything. Um, so he reluctantly agrees to join them, and he there's this little part where he and Frenchie get into a spat because they don't like each other. Um, but it's kind of resolved for the most part really quickly, and they just kind of move on from there. So we find out that he goes under the nickname Mother's Milk, which is really gross and uncomfy. But um, we kind of see him work alongside Huey in this episode. He works alongside him to infiltrate the home of uh, Pop Blade or something like that. I don't remember exactly. Um, it's something like that, like Pop Blade or Pop Knife or something. Um, the girlfriend, though, of A Train, they end up infiltrating her house under the guise of internet workers and basically bug the place, allowing them to watch her every move. So afterwards, when A Train gets there and everything, they're able to watch and they find out about Compound V. So this was mentioned in like the first episode. The mayor of Atlanta had tried to use it as blackmail against Vought. And it seemed to have worked because we know from episode 2 that Homelander's actions at the end, killing the mayor and his son and everyone else on board, was Homelander's own actions. It seems like Vought was just going to let it go or let it slide or whatnot. Um, but we finally find out exactly what Compound V is. It is a performance enhancing drug. And it seems like it's a much more like potent drug than normal, like some kind of like superhero specific strain of it or whatnot. Um, but we also find out specifically that A Train was high on Compound V the day he killed Huey's girlfriend. So this gives Huey clearly another reason to despise A Train. Not that he needed too many more, because we saw again in the last episode that A Train didn't even feel any sympathy or empathy about it. He was laughing with a friend about it afterwards, and it's just like he might have been high still at that time, but it just seems like he doesn't care. And in this episode, we even see like when he's heading to Pop Claw. That's her name, by the way. Claw is the second part of it. When he's heading to Pop Claw's apartment, um, he and Huey pass by, well, and Mr. Milk pass by in the hallway. He doesn't even remember who Huey is. He has no clue. He doesn't care. So yeah, it's made very clear that it just does not matter to him, and it's really fucked up. But we see them continue to spy and learn more about the Compound V and stuff, and find out that he's planning to use it during this big race that he's taking part in against another speedster. And the big race is kind of this kind of big build up thing we have in this episode, and I think it was even mentioned last episode. Um, so throughout the episode, they're building up to it. They're really showing us that it's going to be a notable setting for something that's going to come. And so, with everything going on, our team ends up using this race as infiltration. They go under all these different disguises and stuff, except Frenchie, who's just sneaking into the locker room when everyone's gone to try and steal the Compound V. But everyone else is like pretending to be other people, basically, just blending into the crowd. Huey's like working as a reporter and everything. Um, and we get to see this is when Huey and Starlight come into meeting again. Um, and the race is, even though it's kind of been built up to and everything, it's very anticlimactic, and I think that's the point because you have two speedsters. It's over in a second. Like the instant it starts, it's basically over, and they have to slow it down exceptionally just to see who won, to see who actually crossed the line first. It was A Train, but he also had taken some of the Compound V prior to the race, and so maybe that's how he won. He mentions in the episode that if he didn't win this race, he would be taken. He would have been dropped from the seven because like they don't want the second fastest man in the group. So it's kind of implied that they would replace him with the guy he was taking on, who I don't remember the name of. He wasn't even really focused on. But that's I mean, not siding with A Train necessarily in anything here, but that is fucked up on Vaught's case that they're kind of leaving this frivolous little race. They're using this to kind of measure whether or not he even belongs in the group. It's like, what? That's rude. That's not okay. Um, but yeah, yeah. So Frenchie is unable to find the compound V, and Mr. Milk realizes that it must still be with Popclaw. They head back out, go back to watching the bugs in her apartment, and she's watching the race. She sees it all happen. She sees A Train win, but she also sees the after the race press conference, where when asked if he has a significant other, he says no, completely, um, completely lying about that just to hide their relationship, which earlier he had already made light of, basically. She gets upset, uses his compound V, and kind of like she kind of has this really interesting, aggressively goofy high. Like she's almost acting like she's drunk, like what you kind of would expect her to like someone to be when they're drunk. Very goofy, very silly, but at the same time, the compound V is allowing her to lift massive amounts of weights without trouble and whatnot. Her landlord, who has been bothering her for money, comes and she convinces him to have sex with her. But not just sex, role play sex. So he's role playing as a burglar. She stops him. And basically, what it amounts to is she's just sitting on his face the entire time and getting off. He's unfortunately, because of the compound V, she's not really focused. And because of that, she doesn't realize that he's having trouble breathing. She uses her claws to be able to like get some grip and everything, but it also causes her to accidentally crush his head underneath her, like really gruesomely. Like that actually caught me by surprise. And she freaks out afterwards, mind you. Like she did not mean to do that. It was completely accidental. Even if he was bothering her about the rent and everything, she obviously didn't mean to kill him like that. Um, but she's freaking out, and that's when we have Billy and Frenchie go in to act as damage control and kind of manipulate the situation into their favor. And meanwhile, Homelander uh, confronts the leader of Vought, and he shows her something that the Deep found, or rather, the Deep heard about and found because of help from a porpoise, apparently. Um, it is the same box that Billy and them hid the remains of Translucent in. And we find out that the box is made of zinc, which is the only thing that Homelander cannot see through. And it's very clearly a Superman reference with that one. It's like, yeah, of course, this series is very much not really a parody per se, but definitely a commentary on superheroes. And so clearly that's a reference to, you know, Superman and his one, not really weakness, what would you call it? Restriction on what he can see through and everything. Um, so yeah, it's just a fun little reference in a way. But they see when fully opening the box, there's also a message on the inside of the lid that says "coming for you," and they take it as a declaration of war, and that's where the episode ends. So yeah, this episode was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. I like what they're doing with Starlight in terms of her character's arc here, because clearly she's eventually gonna not be able to take it anymore. She's not gonna be able to reconcile the idea of her dream with what they're making her do, and I'm excited for when that's gonna happen because I think she could possibly join Billy's group in that situation, possibly. Um, there's no guarantees on that. Um, but it would be cool. It would be cool. Um, but I like what they're doing with not what Vought is doing with her, but what the writers and whatnot are doing with her, because we're clearly seeing that she has a certain like code that she lives up to. That she's very modest. She's very much not show offy and whatnot. Very humble about her abilities, and she doesn't want to kind of come across as too, sexualized or anything. She wants to do this purely for the right reasons, and this kind of showmanship and showing off is not her kind of thing. And if she's not comfortable wearing that kind of outfit, then she shouldn't be forced to, but Vought is doing so. I'm really hoping that this comes to a big head sometime in this series. It's most likely not going to happen this season, but I would still love to see it happen. Um, I also found out that the leader of Vault, again, I can't remember her name, so I apologize about that, but she is played by Elizabeth Shue, and I just completely did not realize it somehow. I grew up loving Elizabeth Shue in movies like the second and third Back to the Future. She was in Adventures in Babysitting, which is a great film, and various other roles as well. So it's like I grew up really enjoying her roles, and I think don't quote me on it, but I think she was also in Piranha 3D. As stupid as that movie was, I think she was in that. I know Christopher Lloyd was in it. Um, I think she was in that too. That's semi recent. When did that come out? I think within the last decade. Either way, either way, I actually saw that in theaters. But yeah, I just did not realize that was her. So that's kind of fun to discover. um, but yeah, I'm really disliking Vought more and more as the series progresses, which is clearly the point. You're not supposed to like them. You're not supposed to cheer for them. You're not supposed to understand them even. They're clearly painted as villainous, as bad. And it's gross the kind of stuff they do and the kind of controlling ways that they have. And we can even see how it affects some heroes in this episode with Queen Maeve, who has a small role to play in this episode, but might expand into something more later. She's doing a mission with Homelander. There's this shooter in a building they have to subdue. And we can see throughout it that she's very disillusioned with all of this. Like you could see, she puts on a smile and an act for the for the people around, for the fans, for the officers in the area, in the situation, and everything. But you can see she's not in it. She doesn't necessarily see what they're doing as wrong, but she also just cannot abide by it. She's just kind of apathetic at this point. Um, we see her and Homelander confront this shooter, and he seems to be giving up, but they go after him anyway. And Homelander just brutally punches right through him for no real reason. He didn't need to do that. And you can even see that she's upset by that. It's like the first moment we truly see her disgusted by something that they're doing. Because up to this point, again, she's been completely apathetic or been faking these emotions to just kind of play to the camera and to the fans and whatnot. But here, she actually shows genuine disgust at that, and you could see how upset and everything she is. This is not the kind of thing she wants, and you even see as well, Homelander makes her kind of put on this entire act that this guy shot first. He takes the guy's gun and shoots Queen Maeve with it, which obviously it doesn't do anything to her. Um, but it's just really gross. And the more you see of this, the more like just grossed out by these characters you get, especially the likes of Vought and especially the likes of Homelander. Like Homelander gets notably worse and worse with each episode, it seems. It's like you just hate him more and more. Um, because in the first episode, up until the end, like there were maybe hints of like he was bad, but they purposefully, I feel, kept him pretty squeaky clean in the first episode. But in the second and third episode now, it's just like not so much. Not so much at all. We're definitely seeing the true side to him. Yeah, this episode had some really good moments in terms of writing and characters and acting and all that. But there were some parts of it that just do irritate me. And again, that's the point. It's supposed to be doing that. It's trying to do that. Like it's succeeding as well. So I can't be too upset with that because that's what it's going for. At the same time, it just does genuinely irritate me because that kind of thing just genuinely irritates me. But I'm very interested to see where this goes now. There are some actors who I know are in this in the future or are going to be in this in the future. Like I know Jensen Ackles, famous for playing Dean in Supernatural, is going to be joining in on season three. I know that. Oh my god, I can't. I was just thinking of her name too. The the person who voices Glimmer in She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. I know she's in this series. I don't know anything about her character or anything. Same with Dean or Jensen as well. But I know she's in this too, and I'm just wondering when she's going to appear and if I'll even recognize her when she does, at least by voice. Um, but yeah, she's in this as well. Obviously, don't tell me when any of these characters appear or anything. And there was someone else who was in this too that I remember hearing about. And I heard about these before I decided to check out the series. So it's not like I was spoiled afterwards. But yeah, I do know. I'm interested to see where a lot of these plot lines go. Because I assume Billy's group is like the titular The Boys, but they've never called themselves that, and no one else has called them that. But maybe now with them having declared war on Vought and the heroes and all, maybe that'll change. Maybe they have to come up with some kind of like code name or something. We'll have to see. Um, I expect it will happen by the end of the season that they'll start going by that. But yeah, we'll have to see. Um, but I definitely have a lot of hope for this series for all of the characters, different arcs from Huey to Starlight to Billy and them. And I'm really interested to see who else might be brought into the fold going forward and how characters we've already met will act and react to certain things. Like, how's A Train gonna react with what's going on with Popclaw? Like, are they even gonna see each other again? I mean, he clearly doesn't care about her enough to actually like tell people that they're together. He blatantly lies about it. But at the same time, it's like, will he have a notable reaction? Like, if he gets back to that apartment and finds like she's not there or something, like she went somewhere with Billy and them. Because we don't really know what the plan is for Billy handling all this with, you know, dealing with what she accidentally did. I'm very curious, though. I am very curious to see what happens. Um, but yeah, either way, tell me in the comments below what you thought of this episode of The Boys. And as always, no spoilers, please. I may be watching this on my own time, but I still wish to go into it as spoiler free as possible. So thank you for abiding by that. But yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of these different plot points going on. Um, there are some things I didn't really talk about a lot of, like Huey's confrontation with his father. But I don't need the kind of negativity in my life talking about not liking pizza rolls. So yeah. Plus, there wasn't really a lot to discuss there. So excuse me. I could hear my voice starting to go a little bit. I've had a little bit of a cough the past couple of days. Just need to clear my throat. Luckily, it's nothing bad. Luckily, it's nothing bad. It's just a slight cough and a little bit of a headache. That's it. But yeah, it's like there really wasn't a lot to talk about with that confrontation. It's just I don't feel it was that big of a deal. Um, but maybe it'll end up going somewhere bigger in the future. But if there is anything else I missed that you want to hear my thoughts on or whatnot, please feel free to ask in the comments below. Just again, no spoilers. Like, don't tell me like, oh, you should have talked about this because it's important later on. Don't say that. Just like ask like, oh, what did you think of this? Just keep out spoilers, please. Anyway, yeah, tell me your thoughts and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.